everybody? It's Justin. So I've listed some of these red meat myths on the board because tonight is literally just called Red Meat Myths. I'm going to tackle some of the most common red meat myths, some of the most common red meat myths, and some of the red meat myths that just really annoy me. They drive me absolutely crazy. Now, the thing that I realized in prepping for this is that there are an awful lot of red meat myths that I'm not going to be able to get to. There's a ton of red meat myths. Red meat's got to be one of the most villainized things that we have, particularly in the American diet. I've been exploring this idea of a carnivore diet and messing with it. I'm not saying that's what we should do, okay? I'm not. For most people, the vast majority of the free world, people that don't have a massive autoimmune condition, I think that Clovis is the way to go. I love the 60% fat, 30% protein, 10% net carbohydrate ratio. I love that. The approved foods list is perfect. Yes, I made it myself, whatever. I still think it's perfect. But anyway, I just want you guys to know that that is still what I'm advocating is Clovis, okay? Definitely Clovis. But I like to experiment. I'm a guinea pig. You guys don't want to eat 350 grams of protein a day. I don't mind doing it at all. I have no problem with it, right? I ate a prime rib the other night that was 1.75 pounds in one sitting, and it was beautiful. I loved it. Chewed all the meat off the bone. Fantastic. But I'm not saying you guys need to do that. All right, let's jump in. Now, the first thing I want to do right now, before I get into these myths, is I want to nip this one thing in the bud right from jump. I want to be clear that when I say red meat, I am talking about ethically raised animals. I am talking about 100% grass-fed, grass-finished, pasture-raised animals. These are happy, healthy animals that live a beautiful life. They are killed cruelty-free, and one death can feed me easily for over a year. It's amazing. It's an amazing system. I'm talking about regenerative agriculture. As you guys know, I'm funding a documentary film about regenerative agriculture, okay? So I want to be clear, before anybody starts arguments with me, I'm not talking about Oscar Mayer bologna sandwiches here, okay? When I say red meat, I'm talking about real red meat, as found in nature red meat. I'm not talking about feedlot cattle, CAFO, which is confined animal feeding operations. I don't advocate any of that stuff. I think feedlot, I think CAFO is a huge problem. A lot of the grain consumption, grain growing, monocropping that we have is to feed those poor animals that are locked up. It's a bad system, okay? So right off the bat, we're getting that out of the way. I only eat 100% grass-fed, grass-finished, pasture-raised animals. That is my personal choice, and that is because of ethics. Believe it or not, it's not because of nutrition, because grain-fed meat is not that far off nutritionally from grass-fed meat. There may be some toxins stored in the fat, there may be some hormones and antibiotics, nothing that a healthy system shouldn't be able to purge out, nothing that you shouldn't be able to handle if you're a healthy person. But I choose pasture-raised meat for the environment and for ethical reasons. Regenerative agriculture is a net plus for the environment, no matter what the plant-based people tell you. Okay. Had to get that out of the way, let's jump in. So, on to the myths. Now, virtually all of these myths come from two places. If we were to look at like a mafia-style movie where you have like the crime boss up on top, and then you have all his little minions below that, like you have your one big crime boss, and then the police draw little sketches of all the people below, and as they die, they like mark X's off of them, right? That's really where all this plant-based stuff is coming from, and this anti-meat rhetoric is coming from. Two places. One, vegan propaganda. Two, big food propaganda. Hint, big food companies want you to eat more grains and more sugar because that's what they create, and all the products that they create have grains and sugar in them. So of course they don't want you eating meat, they want you eating more grains, okay? So let's start with, I'm going to read you all these myths and then we're going to get into them. So number one, plants have more nutrients than meat, okay? This is a giant myth. People think that they need plants for nutrients. Not true. There's nothing in plants that you can't get from animals. Number two, saturated fat causes heart disease. This is a huge myth that we see still playing out over and over and over, even with most doctors. Even some functional medicine doctors don't seem to have this figured out yet. They think that saturated fat equals heart disease. Myth number two. Myth number three, red meat causes cancer. So I put red meat equals cancer. People still think that red meat plays a role in cancer. Huge myth. We're going to get into that, okay? The next one, and this is actually part of this cancer thing, is that meat is acidic. So I wrote meat is acidic here, and that is not actually a myth. Meat does cause acidic end products, right? But what is a myth is this alkaline acid myth. The other one is that eating animals or red meat is bad for the environment, okay? I'm gonna touch on that one briefly. That's gonna have to be another, like a whole additional episode, honestly, it will have to be. So the last one is red meat equals fat and or diabetes. So this, number 6, red meat equals fat gain, so gaining weight, and or diabetes, okay? This idea that red meat can make you fat or that red meat causes diabetes. This comes directly from the nonsense documentary, What the Health? So we're gonna tackle that.